eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light in our galaxy. Everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.
What the hell is going on, everyone? Welcome, you beautiful little gaggle of weirdos. Thank you for being here. We have what I think will be a very interesting watch along today. Yes, we are a little bit late, but yes, we are running on island time. You need to remember that, okay? I'm outside the stream of time now, okay? I'm on the island time. Now, this video, we're going to be watching an interview from 1994 named Roger Morneau. And he got involved shortly after being a part of World War II, was pulled into the elite circles and secret societies of the satanic cult. And he talks about the fact that not many people, I guess, make it out the other side and are able to tell a story like he did. And this is him speaking pretty candidly about it in 1994. But what he's talking about took place much earlier than that. So given everything that's come out over the last few days, Epstein files, etc., I think it's important to realize that none of this is new, right? This is not new. It's been going on for a long time. And also, full disclosure, I haven't watched the full interview yet. Okay, the interview that we're going to be looking at today is just over an hour. I watched about the first 20 minutes. However, this was recommended to me by a very trusted source. Okay, now I can't reveal who that source is unless you get into a skiff with me. But unfortunately, you will never ever in your lifetime even have a possible chance of ever getting a clearance to get into that skiff. So unlucky for you, you will never find out. But like I said, it is on. It's a good source. I trust them. So I'm excited to dig into this. Sweets, you little freak. Thank you for becoming a member. Rambro gifted one as well. So did Corrupt NPC, the boys. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate your daily generosity. And Taris gifted 10. Taris, my man, let's get some love in the chat. Thank you very much, Taris. I appreciate it, guys. And 420 Breezy has said, how you doing, man? Much love. Much love to you, bro. And the cat, of course. I hope you're doing well. And I hope you're excited to get into this, guys. So it's going to be a watch along. So this is just one long thing that we're doing today. I feel like you guys generally do enjoy the longer watch alongs, actually. And so do I. So I hope you guys enjoy this one. We will stop off along the way as necessary. But actually, you know what? I think at the beginning of this, you're going to get a little bit of an intro into Roger anyway. So I'll let them handle that. And like I said, we'll stop off as we need to. And Bleak has also gifted a membership. Bleak, brother, thank you very much. All the boys getting in here, showing some love today. All right, team, here we go. Kicking this off. Roger Morneau, 1994 interview. And just so we stay on top of it before we start, S-Tone has said blood libel is an antiseptic conspiracy theory. Definitely. You'll find that actually history and statistics are also quite antiseptic as well. It's crazy. All right, here we go.
While still a young man in the city of Montreal, Roger Morneau became involved in the worship of demons. In this two-part series, Roger gives us a first-hand account of his harrowing brush with the powers of darkness and
Tibetan
ultimately
flutes
his divine rescue.
when talking
Also
about
joining
worshipping the
him
devil.
are Cyril and Cynthia Grossi, the very couple who first pointed Roger from the darkness to the light. Conducting this exclusive interview are Dan and Karen Houghton of Heart Research Center. Let's now join the Houghtons and Roger Morneau as we together enter part one of a trip into the supernatural.
Yep, that's the one.
How in the world did you ever get involved in praying to demon spirits?
Well, when I came out of the Navy after World War II, I was looking forward to take up a trade in
Volume
Montreal,
okay?
Canada. And at that time, I ran across a fellow that had been on a particular ship with me. And he said, "Hey, Morneau, you're alive. How nice to meet you." He says, "Let's have dinner tonight." I said to my boss, "Can I have the evening off?" Because I was the assistant to the Windsor bowling alleys and billiard. You know, it's the high-class place in Montreal where all the dress manufacturing people go and relax. So I got the evening off, and I went out. We went out and had dinner. He told me, "Hey, I got something fantastic to tell you." He said, "I am affiliated with people that speak with the spirits of the dead.
Red flag.
How would you like to talk to the spirit of your dead mother?" And I was shocked.
How would you guys feel if someone approached you saying that, by the way? Like, would you actually be intrigued? Like, actually think about it. Would you be intrigued to speak to your dead mother? Or would you be like, I'll pass, weird shaman guy?
I was shocked. He said, "You wouldn't be afraid of talking to the spirit of your dead mother, would you?" Well, I said, "I'll tell you what, I would have to give that some thought, because it's something I never thought about before in my life."
Most of us probably haven't. A little afraid of something like that.
Well, he says, you know, it's written all over your face. You're afraid of going to a seance. But he says, "I know you. You're going to come."
Yeah, interesting. A lot of people in the chat, people whose mother has passed, who they probably dearly miss. I'm sure we would all naturally be a little bit intrigued, right? Of course we would. We'd all be a little bit like, have that second thought of like, really?
And then he started to tell me how brave I was when I was aboard ship, you know, different things. He says, "You're not the same man, you've changed. You're chicken." That's all I needed to hear. I said, "When do we go to a seance?" So
reverse psychology got him.
We were in the place. It was the very first time. Very beautiful place. The medium was a lady. She had a gorgeous new home in Montreal. And there were about 20 invited guests there, which I was one of them.
Sorry, is this a Montreal accent? He's got a bit of a weird hybrid accent to me. Like, it doesn't really sound Canadian or French Canadian. I don't know what it is. Does anyone in the chat fill me in here? Rambro, celebrating 7 months, says, "Shout out to you, Captain, and all the weirdos. Love every single one of you. Keep that vibe up, as above, so below." Thank you, bro. Love the energy you bring, man. Thank you very much. And Winston says, 222741. Thanks always, Josh. My pleasure, Winston. Thanks for being here, brother.
And she communicated with the spirits for different people there, and telling them what the spirit said.
It is French Canadian.
And then
okay.
there was one lady that had been talking almost continually before the seance started, and she didn't believe in the dead appearing and all of this and all that. And she said, "Well, I would have to see my dead sister," she says, "to believe it." So while this the seance was going, one man said, "I would like to talk to my friend that died 6 months ago, but I don't want him to appear. Just want to talk to him, because he says, I don't trust you talking to my friend for me." So the medium says, "Let me inquire of the spirit." "Yeah, the spirit will talk with you." And that big masculine voice was heard in the place.
Okay, it sounds like he is speaking French Canadian, but Eric suggests that he's speaking the ancient dialect of Enochian Draco. So there you go. Decide what you want to believe.
Says, "Hi, Frank. It's nice of you to ask for me to talk with you." And they had a little chat. And after it was over, Frank says, "This is the greatest thing on earth, to be able to talk with the spirits of the dead." Then the medium said, "We have a very special surprise tonight for you people. A spirit will manifest itself openly here in a few minutes. And it's like a big gust of wind hit the building and right through the wall." Now, the lights weren't terribly bright, but they were like living room lights. A couple of floor lamps and maybe some of these. And that translucent being seemed to come right out of the wall
How did you feel right at that moment?
It's almost like my heart stopped a little bit.
Okay.
You know, very weird feeling.
Fair.
So it was a lady in a beautiful evening gown, swirling. And she said to Mary, "My dear sister, you are so wonderful to have asked for me." And Mary fainted and fell right off her chair on the floor. And a couple of guys jumped up and picked her up, and spirit gone. And that was the beginning of it.
That's ontological shock, by the way. All the people who were like, I can't wait to meet the aliens. No, you will probably pass out and likely shit your pants, like quite literally. That is what will happen when you're actually faced with an alien. Don't say it won't. Don't say it won't, because I'm almost certain it will.
That's how you got into it.
Yeah, that's the way I got into it. After a while, you see, there's something interesting about the human mind. You can adjust an awful lot of stuff. You can adjust to a lot of things that would terrify you to begin with. After a while, they become common and ordinary.
So you mean contact with the supernatural can
Nice,
become
Tom.
commonplace and ordinary and doesn't bother anybody?
Yeah,
In other words, the more that you do it, you're not uncomfortable.
That's
it's
right.
just not an uneasy feeling.
yeah.
So
But
how did
then-
you feel about it?
Then I
after
got
that?
into a secret society that worshipped the spirits, you see. That
Well, how
was-
did, okay, now
Here we-
how is that
here we
different
go.
from the seance, Roger?
It happens that the seance are not involving in many ways. But when you get into a secret society of spirit worshippers, then, and especially when you're invited there by the direction of the higher-ups in the spirit world, you never get out of there alive. And this is exactly what my friend and I were up against. We didn't know anything about it. And there was a very, very popular big band leader.
Jazz musician?
band, yeah. Very famous. He played a lot in Montreal, Canada, Vancouver, the big cities. And one night we went to one of these seances, and he was with his wife. Now the spirits had told him what to do. Spirit told him, there's two of these guys, give the names, and your wife will want to talk, we'll make it so that your wife will want to talk to the medium when you say that you want to go home because you're tired. As soon as you see that these guys are starting to want to leave, then leave with them at the same time. And as you get outdoors, you ask them if they're driving. They'll say, no, they're going to take the tramway a couple blocks away. Well, you invite them to get in your car with you, and that you will take them to a fancy restaurant and treat them to some good food and talk about the merchant navy. And that's what the guy did. And there we were in this this plush restaurant, pulled into a little alley, and I can still see it like it was yesterday. Just enough room to pass the car, back alley, that happened to give on a restaurant that was on St. Catharines Street, which is the main street of Montreal. And
I feel like I can hear the French Canadian a lot better now.
that was quite an evening.
So Roger, you're at this restaurant. What happened?
Well, after
I mean, can we get some hair appreciation on the interviewer there? That is something. Toxic Fart says he's a George Bush clone that cooked for too long.
we were seated, in entering there, the place was just full, packed tight. But there was a couple of tables against a wall that had a reservation sign on it. And the owner of the place recognized the band leader and came and said, good evening, and you gentlemen want a table. So you're one of the reserve people. So we sat there, and we had our favorite alcoholic beverages, and as we talk, the band leader says, how long have you fellas been involved with sorcery? And he shocked us a little bit. And I said, exactly what do you mean? Well, he said, what you people are doing, talking to the supposed spirits of the dead. He says, this is silly.
And this man had been at the seance with you.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And he's telling you that it's silly what you've just done.
Because see, my wife, he says, goes to these seances because she gets comfort and she gets something good out of it, good feeling out of it.
Okay.
And she lives for what the spirits, are going to see that the future is going to be like. To me, he says, I can't bother with this stuff. He says, I want power. I go right to the source of power. And he says, how do you think that I became famous the way that I am? Well, I said, you must have had some good luck. Well, he says, there's no such thing as good luck. He says, there's either some power working for you somewhere, or you don't get ahead in this world. Not in my type of occupation. So it went from there. We got talking about spirit worship.
It's like, so how many people from Hollywood have spoken out and basically said the same thing, that like once you get to a certain level of fame, there's like this ceiling, or maybe like a certain level of influence is maybe a better word. Then there's like this ceiling that you hit that is guarded by being like initiated into something fucking weird and dark. And that basically like to ascend to that like next level, you need to kind of give over something that allows you to be controlled or manipulated or blackmailed, right? That's kind of what it sounds like to me. And I know a lot of people didn't really vibe with it, and I think it's really just because of the way that he speaks. But the Lil Tony clip that we covered on this channel of him saying that like he was hanging out with a bunch of people who were all driving Ferraris and shit that were like 20 years old, and they were like, yeah, man, we do like demonic rituals. Like that's how we got all this.
Did it intrigue you? Or did it make you want to find out more about what exactly he was talking about?
Yeah. So he said the supposed spirits of the dead that you're talking with are demon spirits. You're fallen angels. You're beautiful beings.
Just set it out, just like that.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't make you uneasy when he said they were
Well,
just
it
demon
shocked you a little bit, something that you first hear mentioned to you. He said, you guys have got a great future ahead of you. Because we've been told, the high priest of our society, secret society, has been told that the master has very special plans for you too.
Now, what did he mean by the master?
Satan. And we were interested to hear more about it. And he told us, he says, look, we worship spirits. We worship Lucifer and all his angels. They're just as beautiful as they did before they were cast out of heaven. He says there was a misunderstanding in the whole thing, he says, among the inhabitants of the galaxies.
It's all just a misunderstanding, guys. The fallen angels, the guys that worship Satan, they got cast out of heaven. It was all just a misunderstanding. They're actually really good guys. You should come and hang out with them. Don't ever listen to that guy.
And he says our master was misunderstood. And God did not bear with him like he does with people that make mistakes today. So we're in a warfare, good against evil. And we happen to be the evil ones, but we're not that bad. He says, I look at this business between the forces of good and evil. He says, you believe in one person believes in God, and everyone believes in Lucifer. It's like politics.
So the great controversy is
just like politics, guys. You got the left, you got the right, you got the child sacrificing, Moloch loving Baal worshippers, and then you've got God. It's just the left and the right. Sometimes you swing a bit left, sometimes you swing a bit right. It's just politics. It's just a bit of politics.
real. And you've heard someone talk about it that's on the other side.
Mm-hmm. And to these people, they are sold to the fact that Christ will not return to this planet with power and great glory. He's going to abdicate all claims to the planet, because the high priest once said that Christ will abdicate all claim to the planet because he knows that it is lawfully and rightfully Satan's. And at that time, he says, Lucifer, you mentioned Lucifer a lot of times, but they mention Satan also. He says, the master, usually they like to talk about the master will resurrect his people from the graves.
Now, George is telling you all this, or the high priest?
George.
Okay, when the evening
Yeah.
wound down, and you're putting a cap on all that, you guys had consumed some alcohol.
Yeah.
And did you feel like that there was kind of a one-shot deal? You didn't know if it ever happened again? What happened
Well,
after that?
he said, no, I said, listen, guys. He said, I like to have you, says, meet some of our people. What about next week, Wednesday evening? I'll pick you up at your place, and you're invited to one of our services.
Services? Like a church service?
Yeah, something similar like that. It's a testimonial to the spirits, how the spirits have blessed your life. See? So, when we left there, I said to myself, this guy is half drunk. I'm not going to hear from him again, you know. But it was true. Wednesday night came, he was there with his big Lincoln, step in, and we went to one of the most beautiful area of Montreal. And the place was a mansion. Now, a mansion is usually very large. We'll call this a small mansion. It was beautiful, most beautiful place. Yeah.
Roger, your friend George took you and Roland to this mansion where people worshipped the demons. What was it like there? What kind of people were there?
Well, it was a big surprise for me, as I kind of made up in my mind an idea that they were going to be rough-looking characters. But as we entered the place, I was amazed to see that they were all very well-dressed, well-mannered, and that a lot of the people, as we were being introduced to people, were professionals, doctors, attorneys, a lot of business people. And see what they had a praise session to the gods, which is the spirit counselors, which are in charge of legions of spirits, of demon spirits. And they talk about what the Lord of their lives has done for them, because they call on particular spirits, like the god Nehushtan, which you read in 2 King about. The Israelites worshipped the golden serpent that Moses had made. Well, behind the spirit worship, behind that, they were worshiping the serpent. They were actually worshiping this spirit Nehushtan. And the same spirit Nehushtan is, the priest was telling us, that the medical doctor that was telling us how he was making operations that had never been made before, because people had to be awake, yet have no feeling. He was able to, carry on the surgeries that had not been done before. But the spirits would give that capacity to be able to operate without people feeling any pain and things. And also without no problem with the blood, because as he would cut his incision, because incisions, everything open and with no blood running. So he could do the work that has not been done before. So.
Now, I recall reading in your book that at this praise worship service they would sing hymns. Why would they sing hymns in a demon worship?
Yeah, this was kind of a big surprise to me when that took place. The priest said, hey, let's go down to the worship room of the gods and have a praise session, a singing session. So we go down there, and what did you think they pass around? Church hymnals, Christian church hymnals. And I couldn't believe this. I said, what's his business? So the priest says, well, now, he says, for those of you that are new, let me tell you that this is the most feasible way, he says, to please the spirits. It's to deride Christ and his people, and his church and all that. So they sing out of Christian hymnals.
They didn't sing.
They're singing Christian hymn notes to appease demons. Am I interpreting this wrong, people? This is what he's saying? They're singing Christian songs because these people, this elite society that worships Satan, believe that this is the best way to appease them. I'm going to let that question cook with you guys for a moment. Toxic Fart says, are we ignoring that giant vase with blood behind him? I don't think that's blood, to be fair. I think blood's a little bit darker than that. Attempted Human says, listen to this a couple of years ago. I was getting interested in summoning via meditation. This guy made me think twice about the whole thing. I'm glad, sir. I think probably summoning anything is probably not the best idea. Supercoach 360 with 7 months says, I'm seeing Seinfeld and Cosmo on a redacted episode. Been a great 7 months. Thank you very much, brother. I appreciate the 7 months of support. Bring in the sus dog. He is here. I'm not sus on what he's saying, though. I'm sus on the fact that apparently singing Christian hymns is a great way to connect with demons. What the fuck does that mean about the world that we live in? Is everything literally inverted?
Christian words to the hymns, however.
Well, they change a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and not for the
it's
good.
It's a form of blasphemy. Yeah.
Okay, there we go. He's saying they changed the words as a form of blasphemy. Thank God.
Such as you see today in the rock music world, you see the entertainers, they have these crosses. Mm-hmm. Ladies got earrings, crosses. Mm-hmm. The guys got the cross. This is a form of blasphemy, a form of deriding Christ. You see. Spirits cause the people to do that, to find pleasure in wearing this type of emblem, which is the cross is the emblem of the crucifixion of Christ to the Christians.
So what were your impressions the first time you went down into that worship room?
Well, it was, we'd been there maybe a half a dozen times, and the high priest told us after the meeting was over, he wanted to talk to us. My friend and I. So after most people had left, he says, the master of my life has revealed to me that it is time for you people to become acquainted with the worship room of the gods. Well, we started to move toward a beautiful grand staircase. Beautiful. The banister was huge, it was massive, and the wrought iron work that they had done in it was super. The beautiful decorations on the walls, the chandelier on the first landing. See, that was the first landing. You go down about 8 or 10 steps, and then you had the first landing. It was huge and beautiful. The light arrangement was the nicest I had ever seen in my life. When we got into this sanctuary area, it wasn't very brightly lit, but everything was magnified the beauty of certain things. Like a lot of the things were gold-plated or gold trims. See, the little altars where they had the spirits that had materialized. They photographed them, and then they had paintings made of them. And there was probably about maybe 100 of those around the place.
Sort of like a shrine.
Yeah, and underneath there was a little altar where you have incense and things that they would use in their prayer sessions and things like that, devotions to certain spirits. And some of the objects in there, the priest said, were solid gold. It was a unique experience to see that.
So how did you feel when you walked into that room?
I felt that these people had power, and they had a lot of it.
Did that attract you?
Yes and no.
You had mixed feelings about it?
I had mixed feelings about it, yeah. Because to a certain extent, things looked so good and sounded so good to us. But you see, I'd been brought up in a Christian home where my parents had told us we were 8 children in the family, and especially the older ones, my dad says, well, if you get involved in wrongdoing, you're going to have to pay the price. There's always a cost for everything in this world. So this thought kept creeping to my mind. Just how far you go with these spirits before we start paying the price. See? Yeah.
So it made you just a little bit nervous.
Oh, yes.
But yet you kept going back.
Oh, there was no way out. Because that's what we're told.
You knew at that time.
Yeah.
So you were moving forward more on fear.
More on fear, yes, because the high priest said that the man
Satan uses fear to keep his subjects under submission to his will. Sounds exactly like what we watched yesterday at the end of the stream, the Gnostic allegory of the Truman Show, right?
master had special plans for us in our lives, and that no one ever went into this society unless they were invited by the spirits. See, so that was made very clear. And he also expressed to us the danger, explained to us the danger of going against the will of the spirits. And he mentioned about this one man and his wife that live in a fireproof building in Montreal. The place burned right down with him in it. He was one of their members that had decided that, well, he wanted to think things over. He was not going to get initiated at a time that the spirit said he would like him to be initiated into the society.
So in reality, Roger, you were chosen by high-powered demon spirits to be a part of their human, special, privileged group.
You see, these people in Montreal, the society, like the priest mentioned, there's thousands of spirit worshippers, in different societies of spirit worshippers in this world. But he says, we are the elite. We know the real truth about the Master and his angels. And they're not hideous-looking beings. They are gorgeous creatures. And from the paintings that they had on the wall of the walls of that worship room, they were unique beings. Especially there was a painting full size, full-length painting of the fallen Lucifer above his altar. And that was very fascinating, because he looked like a man of great intellect, high forehead, the way that he looked with his eyes, the way he had the eyes looking. It gave you a depth of perception of somebody that is very, very knowledgeable and
Powerful.
powerful, yeah.
So to say this painting depiction of Satan, they'd painted Satan based on an apparition, and he described him as having a high forehead.
So Roger, this high priest that you talked about, he is the one that ushered you down into the worship room. Was he also the one that led out in the praise sessions that you talked about?
Yes, and he had an assistant also, another priest.
Okay. Now, when you would go to these praise sessions, what kinds of things happened at those sessions?
Well, there's a lot of success stories.
Positive mental attitude kinds of things?
Well, yes, a lot of success stories. The masters has done this for me and that for me. I remember one lumber dealer, he had like half a dozen different operations around Quebec, and everything that he touched seemed to turn to money. And he was telling about it. And then there's this other person that was a clairvoyant that would work only for the wealthy people.
The person's a clairvoyant.
Only for the super wealthy. He says, I have the know-how, they have the means, let them pay. So he advised in business transactions. They would come to him and say, listen, I look at this deal that I might get, this factory or whatever it is, like, because this person was interested in industrial real estate, see? And he would talk to the spirit, and then the spirit was audible to him. See, you could hear the spirit talk to him, but the man did not hear. So the spirit was telling him the clairvoyant what, he called himself an astrologer, reading the moons and the stars and,
Now, what was the term you used for his title, this man?
Clairvoyant.
Clairvoyant.
Oh, clairvoyant.
Clairvoyant.
Okay.
Yes, and it was interesting. This person stood up and says, I had a nice little experience last week. And he says, the masters, he says, they take care of you. This lady and her husband brought him, to this astrologer, a bundle of money. They said, this is the deal that and he works at only on percentages. Only on percentages. He doesn't work for set amounts of money. only percentages of what the people are going to make. So he said they brought me a substantial amount of money. And they were very happy with it, and I thought it was very reasonable. But then my guide, Spirit, says, ask them when they're going to give you the other $1,700 that is really yours. And he says to the folks, I would like to know now, before we leave here, when will you have the $1,700 to give me? That makes up my part of, rightful part of the deal. The wife fainted, and the husband says, we'll have the money for you in 24 hours. So that was this type of priest.
So he was thanking the demons for helping him to know that.
Oh yeah, demon spirits, yeah.
So you're telling me demons are obsessed with money. Right. Okay. Demons are obsessed with making money.
At what point did this demon worship start to affect you personally, Roger?
Well, it wasn't too long that the priest mentioned to us that the time had arrived for us to start trusting the spirits and give the spirits a chance to work for us. And there was a number of gifts that you could choose from, you see. And I used to play the horses, some. Not knowledgeable at all. I used to go to those bookies, play the horse.
I wonder if the demons influence the people who own the banks then, right? That'd kind of make sense. Money's the root of all evil, right?
So often, but I said, hey, I would like to be able to, for the spirit to instruct me on the numbers and the name of the horses that's going to win, at Belmont or some other racetracks like that, make myself a little money. So the priest says it'll be given you. And sure enough, one night whether I fell into a trance or dreamed the thing, I don't know exactly what happened, but I saw 3 races that were really going to pay big. And these horses were dummies, so to speak. You know what I mean? They were not really good horses. They were like one horse paid 21 to 1 because he was that poor, right? The chance of winning was so poor that they paid 21 to 1 on him. And it showed me I saw the board at the bookie and the number on it. And I went there, and they said it was going to be on Saturday. That was like on Wednesday. A few days later, it was Saturday. I went there, and sure enough, there they were on the boards. I went to the wicket and handed some money and got myself a winner. Now I said, well, I'm a little crazy. I ought to put more money on there, so I put $20 onto the next horse, and that paid 21 to 1. So I left there with maybe $400 or $500 in my hands, and I started to do that. In this case, I went directly down to the finest men's shop on St. Catherine Street, and bought myself a $200 suit.
And in 1946, a $200 suit was.
In 1946, people used to work at the RCA Victor, where I had worked before I went to the Navy, for $18 a week. Mm-hmm. And the good earners were $75 to $50 to $75 per week, for labor.
So the demon spirits looked on you so favorably, they began to help you win in your gambling.
Then I went to other bookies, you see. And one day, I am told of the man at the cage where you do your bet. He says, my boss would like to talk to you. And he said, you go right through that door over there. Oh, sure. So I know the guy says, come on in. The guy's sitting behind the big desk, smoking the big cigar. So he says, you're Roger. I says, yeah. He got up and walked around me. He said, you don't look that smart. I said, what, sir? You don't look that smart. He says that you could pick horses that are winners when they're supposed to be losers. Where do you get your help? What do you mean help? I'm not getting any help. I just happen to go and, oh no, we've been watching you here, he says, for a number of weeks. And you always leave here with some of our good money. And I'll tell you, buddy, if you want a list of all the bookies in Montreal, I'll give you a list of them. But he says, I want you out of here. And don't show up again. Because somebody's going to put a, you know what I mean. I said, okay, sir, I won't be back again. So it's a tough business to be in gambling.
So even with the Spirit's help, it was tough.
Yeah. Well, it's stuff is going to shoot you, yes.
Yeah. The high priest.
That was a bit of an anticlimactic part of the story, I'm not going to lie. I thought that was going to culminate into something interesting about money, gambling, or what happened there, but it didn't. Unfortunate. Toxic Fart says that room is straight out of a Scooby-Doo episode. It is a little bit, isn't it? Marin, nice to see you. Says, howdy, Josh. It's been a while since I was able to catch you live. Keep up the good and challenging work. You are appreciated. P.S. Enjoy your new channel. Looking forward to more soon. Thank you very much, Marin. And yes, I was in Singapore for like 36 hours, and I filmed a vlog there, which is on my things to edit this week. Would be probably coming out later this week on that channel. And yeah, spent the whole day editing yesterday too. And I have a really cool podcast coming out this weekend with Third Eye Drops, which was honestly a really cool conversation. I think you guys will like it.
Would say a number of things to you when you were in these praise services, and you went to a number of them over a period of time. Mm-hmm. Talked about the issues of the great conflict. You've already touched on that a little bit. I want you to follow up on that a little bit more, Roger. Some of the things that you wrote in your book, Trip into the Supernatural, sounds a whole lot like what we as Christians today know as the Great Controversy. Mm-hmm. What were some of the things that he told you there?
Well, he says that there's a great controversy going on between the force of good and evil, between Christ and Satan. And they always praise the great master, Satan, as a super intelligent being that he is, beautiful to behold. And if he ever appears to you, you won't be able to look upon him because it'll be too bright. It'll just ruin your vision. The high priest said he was in Chicago, and the Spirit appeared to him and said, Morneau and his buddy, George, has invited them to the service, and the fellow that is in charge while you're away says that he's going to wreck all the work that the spirits have done for the last few years to get these people into the society. So the high priest, which is in Chicago, picks up the phone and calls, and the Spirit appeared to him, and he said the angel was so bright that he could not look upon him. And he says after he picked up the phone to dial, he couldn't dial the phone because of the fact that his vision was so terribly blurred by the light, the beautiful light of the bright being. And he asked, dial 0, and the operator came on, and she had to, dial for him. And they talk about many, many things in regards to, who's going to win this conflict.
Any discussion about fire and brimstone?
Yes. He says, the Bible people, talking about the Christians, they read in the Bible that, we're all going to land in a lake of fire and this and that. So that's baloney. He says the conflict is going to end peacefully. Christ is going to realize that you might as well abdicate the rights of this planet, take his...
Satan teaches that the wicked will not be destroyed by fire in the end. The wicked will not be destroyed by fire in the end. Kind of sounds like a lot of this weird ushering in of the Messiah prophecy that is apparently going on, right? That's what that sounds like to me. That there is a Zionist agenda to usher in the end of the world, because when that happens, the Messiah will return and will save the people who are pushing it.
People on with him to his planet in the center of the galaxies, and we will be left with a master who will resurrect all his people that will be as numerous as the sand of the sea. See? And the master will rule forever and ever and ever. A happy people. And he named some of the people that's going to be there. I don't want to mention the names because they're known to history. Yeah. So that was quite impressive.
Did you always feel, Roger, that these people were telling the truth?
Oh yes, yeah. Yeah, they really had things down straight. But I was not satisfied with the answers. And there was something, and I understand now, it was the Spirit of God saying, hold back, fellow, hold back. And the priest had talked about us thinking seriously about being initiated into the their cult.
Right. So they let you come to sort of take a look, see, but you can't go back for several months.
Oh yeah, it's not a matter of whether you're going to be initiated or not. It's when.
Okay.
You see?
So they begin to press you for a commitment.
So the priest said, look, fellas, I'm not going to pressure you into anything, okay? But I want to show you what the spirits can do for a devoted servant. We went downstairs, not through the staircase that I talked for the worship room of the gods, but at the other end of the building. Went downstairs, and a number of times I'd gone there to the men's room, and I heard these typewriters clicking like the dickens. Man, it's going. I said, why do we have a lot of people typing in there, in that room? Well, we went there that evening, and he knocked, and the man says, come on in. And there was all those typewriters moving along by themselves, typing at the speed that I'd never seen before. And not only that, the high priest says, I want to show you something clever. So he says, follow me. So we went around the table. There was like two long tables, and they had about 10 typewriters. And he says, now notice that the typewriter types to the right, then doesn't go back. It types back to the left. Isn't that something? I had never heard of things like that before. He said the spirits are doing the work. And he introduced us to the man. And the man is a lawyer. And he said, how much money did you make last year? Oh, he says, it's in the 6 figures. You see?
So this lawyer had a business in the building that housed the worship room.
Oh, yeah.
And he had a whole room full of typewriters.
Yeah.
And he put paper in there, and demons
That's
typed.
all he did. Put typewriter paper in there. It was
And what came out? What was it that came out?
different briefs for court cases.
And so he would sell these to people?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
he had this service to the legal profession,
And the high priest was
the
showing
United States and Canada.
So the high priest was showing you this to give you an idea about the kinds of blessings that you would
That's
receive?
right. Yeah.
But after you left that typewriter, the room where the lawyer was, they tried to draw you into a commitment by getting you to make a public profession. Tell us about that.
Oh,
Well, they have a super
that sounds a little too familiar.
beautiful resort in the Laurentian Mountains, which is north of Montreal, north of Saint Agathe. Saint Agathe is a famous name there in Montreal. Montrealers, because they all go Saint Agathe or north there, you know, the summer home and that. So they had a big resort up there for their people, you know. It was a closed society. And they had on October the 30th, Halloween, is that?
October 31.
31, last day of October. They had what they call live animal sacrifices. I don't know what it is.
Oh, God.
We could never find out. By the time that the Lord pulled me out of there, I had not yet found out what it was. So you have this intrigue involved in there. And you talked about three very unique services that I attended there that sit on my mind forever. One was entitled Christian Idolatry.
The great plans of Satan, Christian idolatry, the super deception of a glorious new age, Satan's great general council of the 1700s. The super deception of a glorious new age.
Another one was entitled the super deception of a glorious New Age, which actually applies to the New Age today. And this was 1946 that we're talking. And then the other one was Satan's Great General Council of the 1700s.
1946. Does anyone in the chat know what happened 2 years later?
And I must say the things that I heard there was an eye-opener. First of all, we'll go through the Great General Council.
Okay.
At the beginning of the 1700s, said the high priest, Satan and all his spirit counselors held a Great General Council with one purpose in mind. It was to prepare for the great industrial age that was soon to break upon the world. And Lucifer also foresaw another
1700s, Satan was preparing the world for the great industrial age and a greater age to come.
age that was to follow that, where tremendous scientific discoveries would be made by people, and we would enter a unique age that would change the way that everybody lives. It would also serve to usher in the end times and the close of the great controversy between the forces of good and evil.
And that it would also serve to usher in the end times and the battle between good and evil. That is what we are in right now, people. That is literally what we are in right now. Like that initial like industrial age has been and gone. And then this grand deception of an even greater age to me sounds so much like AI. And it sounds exactly like the video that we did about Pax Judaica. If you haven't watched it, you should go and watch it. We looked at a fantastic lecture from Professor Zhang, and he talks about what Pax Judaica is, how it's happened, why it's happening, and basically this is not something that's just happened in the last decade or two. This has been a long running plan, and I feel like the only reason why people are starting to wake up and realize it now is because it's been happening so slowly for so long that most people haven't noticed, and most people are starting to notice now because it's in its final stages where even normies are going like, what the fuck? What? Hang on. Like, when the fuck did this happen? And it's like, oh, hey, guy with the tinfoil hat here. Yeah, this is the stuff that we've been saying for like decades. And you were like laughing, eating fluoride and watching Love Island. Yeah, this is what we've been saying. Now it's basically done and over. And now you're noticing. So welcome to 30, 40 years ago of people trying to tell you this.
And the priest said that Lucifer had been studying the Bible. And he found in Daniel 12:4, where we are told about the time of the end, many shall run to and fro, knowledge shall be increased. Mm-hmm. He understood it to be that we're getting to that point. And he had, with all the spirit counselors, to change their modes of operation in order, to ensnare people. Mm-hmm. And they devised a way whereby people would disqualify themselves from being.
Satan and his angels devise ways whereby people will disqualify themselves from being members of Christ's kingdom. That to me just sounds like again, kind of going back to yesterday's stream with the Gnostic allegory, like there is this like illusory world created for people to not realize like the connection that they have to something higher, not realize like the human potential, and to just stay in this like mental prison that we self-impose based on the belief systems that are given to us with like a rigid form of science. And like anyone willing to even speak outside of that is publicly ridiculed. And therefore, again, which reinforces the self-imposed prison, because now people are, oh, I don't want to say that. People will think I'm crazy. Well, you probably are crazy and you're right. You are crazy and you're right.
Members of Christ's kingdom.
And he was just very candid about this.
Oh, yeah.
Telling you and the rest of the group, 60 or 70 people there, the plans that
Yeah, close to 100 people.
Lucifer had revealed to him.
And by the time the council came to a close, they had 3 major policies that were going to be followed. First, they were to see to it that humans would be made to believe that Satan and his angels do not really exist. Because up to that time, you could walk down a street of Paris and you would have signs that would say where you have a soothsayer or, or a fortune teller of some type, and if you want to put a curse on someone, you could go and see this other old lady over there, the old witch, that's the way it goes. But now it had to change. Lucifer says, we have to make sure that people, humans, get to believe that Satan and his angels do not really exist.
You know, Roger, that's interesting because a recent research study report that I read indicated that in a national survey, I believe it's over 75% of people do not really believe in a real tangible devil. But there is one.
Oh, yeah. Now, the next thing that...
like tangible, though. Tangible. I don't believe the devil is like some actual one singular physical being with red skin and horns. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that. I think it's like a force that can act through people. Like it's a parasite. I think it's like a parasitic energy that can take over people. And I think people can, and I think you become, this is just my own theory, and like, where am I pulling this from? I really don't fucking know, but it just kind of makes sense to me. I think people can become more susceptible to it based on like how you live your life. Like if you aren't treating people well, if you have like a bad conscience, you fucked someone over, or you've intentionally hurt someone, or worse shit, right? Which we don't really need to say, or terribly worse shit, like what's in the Epstein files. I think if you do those things, it kind of creates like a feeling and like an energy in your body that is like what we would call a lower vibration, right? And I feel like the lower your vibration is, the more sort of like open and receptive you are to this like dark energy. And it can sort of, you will play a host to it like like you would with a parasite. And I think the deeper down those fucked up rabbit holes you go in doing dark, weird shit, the more that parasite can consume you. And that's what I think Juliette Bryant saw with Jeffrey Epstein. When she says that she saw some kind of fucking shapeshift manifest in him, and like Billy Corgan saw it with Tila Tequila, a product of Hollywood, the home of all of this dark, weird shit, right? I think when people see that, I don't think when like they're seeing, I saw them shapeshift, like their chin formed into a lizard chin and now their whole bone anatomy changed before my eyes. I don't think that. I think maybe what they're seeing is like some of the most like visceral incarnations of something from another dimension kind of like taking shape in someone else. And maybe that's just how and when we perceive it, the word shapeshift is kind of like the best thing that we have, but that's probably not exactly what's happening, but it's some kind of like peering through of the veil with some dark energy that this person is holding. That's my take.
The 3 parts policy that they had adopted there, the second one was to find a way of being able to get total control of people's minds. And that would be done by taking hypnotism out of the realm of the occult and introduce it as a new science for the benefit of mankind.
So part of what the high priest told you was Satan's strategy to take total control of people's minds.
Oh, Satan's strategy was to take total control of people's minds. Enter Michael Aquino, the godfather of psychological warfare and operations for the US military, and absolute Satanist. what does this all mean? Like, what does this all mean? How did we get here? Where do we go from here? Seriously. It's not often I feel a bit speechless, but you know, when I think about all of this and put that together, it's just like, wow, it really is. What do you say? Like, what do you say about that? Attempted Human says the devil won't be red with horns. They'll be a beautiful, charming, charismatic individual. Interesting take. Scary take as well, actually.
They felt that by taking hypnotism out of the realm of the occult and introducing it as a new science for the benefit of mankind, they could then use people of great renown, educators, people of capacity, that would do great things, such as supposedly regress people in time to former lives that they had. And of course, after the session is over, the person would not know a thing about ancient history. And the person that she or he has talked about performing, you know, certain deeds, we'll say 3,000 or 4,000 years ago. But this was their strategy. Now, what this would do for the thing is this, that it would create in the minds of the general public, solidly set in the mind of the general public, an unwavering trust in that great deception. In other words, people could, you know, they would believe it. This person was hypnotized, was regressing time to, you know, former lives, and did this and did that, and no deception. Maybe Alexander the Great, we'll say, you know, and some of his generals and people like that. And the person, after the session is over, you know, comes out of hypnotism, and he or she doesn't know what she's talking about. So now this would be a way of de-Christianizing the Western world.
Satan plans to de-Christianize the Western world through the avenue of mysticism. I'm interested to hear what he has to say about the second part there. But again, I think we all know and agree, like, the world has been extremely de-Christianized. Even Christian countries have been, I'll use the word invaded. With people who are not Christian and have no plans to assimilate to Christianity. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. Like, there's nothing wrong with another religion. Obviously, assuming your religion is about love and peace and caring for each other, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But it feels like there has been zero plan to, like, preserve what we already have. And when I say we, I'm talking about like a Western Christian country, right? Like, it's all about, like, care for everyone else, care for them, bring them in, blah, 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 blah. That's all well and good. But, like, at the same time, you need to protect what you have, because we don't even have what we used to have. It's deteriorating rapidly. And I would say the UK is at the forefront of that, is probably the biggest living example that we have right now. I would say Australia is not far behind in that regard. And I think a lot of Western countries are the same. And it's not anything against other religions. It's about the preservation of our own that there doesn't seem to be any consideration for.
Through the avenue of mysticism. Now, the time came when Lucifer decided that he had to choose a person to initiate this thing. And Franz Mesmer, which was an Austrian physician, was chosen. Because
the priest told you all of this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Because he was most capable.
Franz Mesmer was chosen by Satan himself to bring hypnotism to the forefront of world renown.
Mesmer originated a theory called animal magnetism, later on named mesmerism.
It's a RuneScape quest.
Mesmer was led by the spirits to believe, and this is what the priest said, was led by the spirits to believe that certain persons have a magnetic influence within themselves, so to speak, that would cause them to have great power over other persons, even to the point of placing them into a trance. And at that time, that was readily accepted by people in general, at the time that Mesmer lived. So people realized, they said that some people got a capacity to put you into a trance. That's the way. Now, by the time that he died, in 1815, a lot of the physicians in Europe were using hypnotism as a means of anesthesia.
Now, hypnotism is the same as mesmerism?
That's right. Okay. So mesmerism that's been developed to a higher degree of refinement. And the priest went on saying that the plan of Satan to deceive the human family this way, he says, is the most intriguing thing to his mind. And he went on saying how it was going to be brought about. He said
Tell us.
A fellow by the name of Darwin and another fellow by the name of Thomas Henry Huxley would be used by the spirits because in their childhood they had been hypnotized by medical doctors. And they figured that they would be real good subjects to lead the people into this belief that they had, that Satan wanted to bring into people's lives.
Now, what were those 3 points again, Roger? The 3 things were, number 1, that they did not want Satan did not want the human family to think that he or his angels existed.
Right.
The second point that you made had to do with taking control of people's minds.
That's right.
The third point was what?
Was to destroy the Bible without burning it.
Okay.
See?
And what was his strategy on that?
On that.
So just before we move on from this, I pulled up the clip. It's been a while since we watched it. For anyone who's maybe new to the channel, if you don't know who Michael Aquino was, I'm going to show you a quick clip. This is the guy that was in charge of the military's psychological warfare operations.
From our point of view, it really makes no difference whether you pray to a father god or to a mother goddess or to an entire gaggle of gods and goddesses. On this altar is one of a number of daggers which we may use in our rituals. This one happened to belong to the commanding general of the most elite unit of Germany's infamous SS, which was concerned with black magic and occultism research in general. Anything that it could find that had to do with the origins of the human race, destiny of humanity. I have been to the Wewelsburg, which still preserves Heinrich Himmler's ritual chambers to this day, and have conducted a black magical ritual in the so-called Hall of the Dead beneath the Wewelsburg. This
Same guy.
dagger is inscribed to our comrade in the Leibstandarte Theodor Wisch, Brigadeführer, a major general in the Waffen-SS. And on its blade, it bears the inscription, Mein Ehre heißt Treu, or my honor shall be known by my faithfulness.
So that is the guy who wrote the basically playbook called Mind War on psychological operations, and he is your lieutenant. What was he? Lieutenant Colonel? I can't remember. But he, as you can see, decorated U.S. military psychological operations, and absolutely loves Satan. What the fuck?
It was very interesting because after the Great General Council, it was decided that Satan would tutor Charles Darwin personally in setting up the principles of his theories of evolution. He was tutored by Lucifer himself, fallen Lucifer. And at that time, it was understood, Satan and his spirit counselors understood that if a person was led to believe in the theory of evolution, it would in his life, destroyed completely the creation week of the Bible, the fall of man, and the plan of redemption. It would do away with it.
In one fell swoop.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Because they also removed the Book of Enoch, right? Which basically tells the story of man's creation, which is obviously a far different one to what science has told us about the fact that we evolved from apes or some retarded shit like that. The Book of Enoch is the description of how we got here, and it is about essentially fallen angels mating with humans and creating the Nephilim, and we are their offspring. It's way too much shit lines up here. This is Pax Judaica, people.
Now, he made a unique statement. He said that according to the spirits, anyone that teaches a theory of evolution is considered to be a minister of a great religious system. See, they call it the religious system, the theory of evolution, because it.
Sorry to interrupt him, but I feel like that's an important thing to point out as well. Yes, Lieutenant Colonel, I was correct. Michael Aquino, who we just looked at, devil lover, with the eyebrows beyond insanity, co-authored the book or the paper Mind War, which is about psychological warfare, and he co-authored it with a guy called Paul E. Vallely, who was on the board of Turning Point USA. Make of that what you will. But before we continue, Kinsei Sensei says, regarding pooping your pants when you see aliens, I wanted to see them my whole life. I was ready. I still pooped my pants. There you go. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And Marin has gifted a membership. Marin, thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Is it a system of schooling people and getting them to disqualify themselves and being members of Christ's kingdom? And he said that every teacher of that theory is recognized by the spirits as a person of great value and receives a very special unction from Satan himself, giving great power to induce spiritual blindness, to convince and convert. 3 capacities.
Spiritual blindness.
Then, that's not all. The priest says that Satan considers the teachers of the theory of evolution to be so valuable to him that in the sight of all the inhabitants of the galaxies, he assigns a retinue of bright, beautiful angels to follow that educator all the remainder of his life. And that in the sight of the inhabitants of the galaxies is the greatest honor that he can bestow upon his workers, upon mankind, and to, until the controversy is finished. That was quite enlightening.
Now, the high priest was talking just sort of like a preacher would talk up front. Was he enthusiastic? Did he seem like he had bought into this and was excited about it?
Oh yeah, he believed it 100%, no question about it, so everything.
Why would he be so excited about spirits trying to deceive human beings? Because obviously out of this council of the 1700s, deception was a major part of the strategy. Why?
Well, he says it's deception. It's like politics. You believe in one candidate, the other person believes in the other candidate, and they're fighting to get the position, and it's just a matter of who's going to be the smartest. And with Lucifer, the fallen cherubim, he's very smart. He's going to win, and Christ's going to abdicate the rights of the planet. He's going to resurrect his people, have established his kingdom that lasts for ever and ever. God won't be able to destroy him because it would be against God's, the Creator's nature to destroy Lucifer in the fire. Beside that, he said, spirits now, even spirits, have the capacity now to outlive fire. He says, you don't believe it, go to India or some of those countries where they have firewalkers. And it's done by the power of demon spirits. These people are energized by demon spirits so they can walk on those hot coals without burning themselves.
And this is what the high priest said.
And he says, if they want to use fire, they can use it. It's not going to burn anybody. So that's the way they believe.
This high priest was almost talking to your group in an evangelistic fervor.
Oh yeah, because he figures that he's going to be one of the higher ups in the great kingdom.
Okay. Now, of the group that was there that night? 60, 70 people, I think you've mentioned before.
Yeah, it varied.
How many of those were people who were hardcore members, and how many of them were new inductees?
Well, we were the only two youngsters there, so to speak.
You and your friend. And how old were you at that time, Roger?
I was about 20.
20 years old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 20 years old.
Did you have a feeling of awe over the fact that you had been chosen?
Yes, in a way. And then I got thinking about this. When am I going to have to pay the price? The cost. My parents had brought me up like this. If you get involved with evil, you're going to reap what you sowed. So you want to be upright in life. And
if you get involved with evil, you're going to reap what you sow. Is that why the elites are building bunkers? Remember Matthew Brown said you can all fuck off to your bunkers? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? This is what I mean. This is what I'm saying. People worry about like the doomsday, and I truly believe at my core, like, yes, that there are terrible things going on in the world. Yes, I feel like people are awakening to it, and I feel like we are in that process. We all wish it would be quicker, but it isn't. It is just happening the way that it's happening, but I think it is happening. And I truly think at the end of the day, if as long with whatever happens, because I think something has to happen, right? If you are a good human being and you treat people with love and care and you're just a good person in general, you don't have anything to worry about. You probably don't need a bunker. I mean, it might not hurt to have one just in case Israel trigger the Samson option. You know what I mean? But I think ultimately be a good person and just worry about the things that you can control, because that's all you can do. Zach Beach with $50 says, it's been a while. Glad to finally catch a live and hang with the Weirdo fam again. Zach Beach, my man. Thank you very much, dude. Very generous of you, and lovely to have you here, as always. Thank you very much. And John Wafer, celebrating 4 months, says, sending love, mate. Just got a moment to tune into the stream, and hello to all the other weirdos. My man, thank you very much, bro, and nice to have you here as well. I hope you're enjoying life over in Thailand. Let's keep going with this one.
And if you associate with evildoers, they'll probably land you in jail or somewhere else that you wouldn't want to be. So there's always a price to be paid.
So you had that little something maybe instilled by your mother and father a long time ago that kept you from making that full commitment.
Now, one of the things that really amazed me and shocked me and made me sick at heart, it's when the priests talk about Christian idolatry.
Alex says, as it so happens, Josh, I'm a terrible person. Well, unlucky, bro. Start building a bunker.
What is Christian idolatry? The priest mentioned that word.
Yeah.
Tell us what he said, Roger.
He said that Christian idolatry is the most grandiose or great deception that has ever been brought upon the human family, upon mankind. And he says, and he boasted that demon spirits are continually defiling Christian churches through the avenue of necromancy.
Demon spirits defile Christian churches through the avenue of necromancy. I feel like that can mean a lot of things. But like the one thing that I always think of is like, why is there so many like cardinal priests and people involved with the Catholic Church that are pedophiles? Why does that keep happening? Like, you know, maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe even 3 over the century. You could be like, okay, yep, there are some freaks out there. But it's a lot more than that. It's a lot more than that. So why? Why is like the place that is meant to be like the pinnacle of holiness and love and prosperity and care abusing little children on a somewhat regular basis? It just, you know, we were talking about yesterday how like we sort of, some of us have this feeling like something isn't right in the world. Like, where does this feeling come from? Maybe that could be why. That could be why when you grow up being like, oh, look, the church, the blah, 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 blah. And then on news, it's like Cardinal George Pell has been accused of molesting a handful of 11-year-old boys. It's like, oh, okay, now I have this feeling that my life might be a lie. But I'm the crazy one. I'm the crazy one for thinking that.
By using a form of spirit worship that involves hundreds of millions of Christians into idolatry without their being aware of it.
Now, what is necromancy? Describe or define necromancy for me.
Their belief, popular belief of necromancy, is to conjure the spirits of the dead.
So that you can speak with someone who has died.
Right.
Like the seance that you originally went to was the practice of necromancy.
Yeah. Now, the priest says that this super deception is brought about in only one way. Through the deceptive belief that man has an immortal soul that lives on after death.
The deceptive belief that man has an immortal soul that lives on after death. I do believe that. I do believe that.
And he said that constitutes idolatry through necromancy. So he says there are hundreds of millions of Christians that are practicing idolatry while they think they're glorifying God.
A belief in the immortal soul constitutes idolatry through necromancy. So is this, help me out here, chat. What he's saying here is that in necromancy, to believe that your soul is eternal, that is idolatry in the realm of necromancy. Is that what he's saying here? And that, like, this is, help me out here with that one, chat. Attempted Human says, makes me think CE5 is a form of necromancy. I mean, yeah. Yes. I think I would say yes, but also, like, is the word necromancy seems, I don't know enough about it. I'm not a necromancer. But it sounds inherently dark and evil. But is that necessarily the case? Like, again, when I was talking with Michael the other day, coming out this week, we spoke about, like the occult. I think 90% of people, when they hear the occult, they think dark and scary. But that isn't actually the case, right? Like, there is a lot of that. There absolutely is a lot of that. And we lump a lot of that under the banner of the occult. But that's not necessarily the case at all. And I know that. And I think some of you guys know that too. And I wonder, like, I don't know, is necromancy the same? Is necromancy like that as well? Where we just kind of have this automatic assumption of it all being dark? That's right. Occult just means hidden. And there are a lot of dark things hidden in our world, but not just that.
See?
And Aaron Clark gifted a membership. Aaron, you legend, sir. Thank you very much. Let's get some love in the chat, guys.
Because they believe that the soul is immortal. Yeah. They may not be talking to the supposed spirits of the dead.
Oh, yeah. Contrary to popular belief, necromancy does not consist of conjuring the spirits of the dead. The reason being that man is totally immortal and does not possess an immortal soul. So who are they talking to? He says, the friendly demon spirits that have always found over the centuries great delight in impersonating in apparitions departed loved ones and persons of great renown.
Now, friendly demon spirits.
Friendly demon spirits.
Are there more than one kind of demon spirits, Roger?
Well, there's three main divisions, and then there's divisions within those divisions. You have the friendly demon spirits that seem to have the finesse and the refinement, and they're not upset about what happened when they were thrown out of heaven.
Friendly demon? That doesn't really make sense. Like, a demon, by its definition, is not friendly. So, could you not have a different word for that? Friendly demon just doesn't, I don't know. That's not, friendly demon? I don't know. Don't know about that one.
Then you have the warriors. They like to bring misery and destruction in the lives of people. Then you have the oppressors. The oppressors are the real wicked spirits that hate God with all of their, the Creator with all of their might.
So the second and third sound like actual demons. The first one doesn't.
So he went on explaining. He says, now, necromancy is in reality a belief, a religious belief. People believe that the dead have entered into a higher state of existence than they had when they were alive. Also that they are in a position and have the capacity to help the living here on earth. See? Then he said, he says, this is where things get really interesting. He said, according to the great master, a person does not have to supposedly call upon the spirits of the dead to receive help, you see, to be involved in necromancy. All he needs to do is to believe in life after death. Because he said, necromancy is the belief that man is as a human being, as a immortal soul. So anybody that believes that man has an immortal soul is involved in necromancy.
I guess I am a necromancer. I was wrong earlier. I guess I am a necromancer because I do believe that I don't believe my physical body has any role to play after death, obviously, but I do believe that our soul does. And that's really just due to like what I think mostly I think near-death experiences who have sort of crossed over and come back. And the fact that they all seem to have like such similar experiences combined with other things like channeled materials and, you know, downloads that people have, like they all seem to tell a similar story. And again, sometimes you just hear things and they strike you with like a heavier sense of like truth, like something you may have no proof for, but it just resonates on like a level where it's like that's hitting something. It's like it's hitting something that is not less like being told something and feels almost slightly more like remembering something that you already knew somehow. Attempted Human says, is Satan just showing CE5ers what they want to see? Potentially. I mean, I had my orb experience that you guys know about with that video that I did on my channel. I never really felt like overly compelled to like go out and keep doing it. I have tried a couple of times, but like it was always very like half-hearted and it just wasn't the same. I didn't have the exact same mindset the first time and I was never successful again. So yeah, I don't know.
It's that simple. That's the way he explained it. Yeah.
So how does that constitute idolatry?
By people believing that they are either talking to the saints, you see, the spirits of the dead saints, or a dead relative, or a dead person of some type. And you take, for instance, like Loretta Lynn. She says on national television, and I have the data on it, that I heard it myself. She said that she was made successful in her singing career by a dear friend of hers that was the same age as she and died when she was 18 years of age. And Loretta was trying to get into the singing world, you know, but she says, I had no success at all. Until one night I was sitting in bed reading a book. And she says, who walks right through the wall but my friend, the spirit of my friend? And she says, Loretta, I'm going to make you a very famous person in singing Western country music, and I will be with you all the time. Trust me. And she says she had a big concert once, and she was coming down with this bad cold. And she thought that her voice was going to give. She talked to her spirit and felt that she was going to be helped. And she got on the stage and she started to sing, and right in the middle of where she really needed the power, no power at all. And her spirit friend tapped her on the shoulder and started to sing for her. She said her voice went through me, the power. See?
Now you saw this in a television documentary?
Yeah. That was, I believe, in 1976 it took place. Now, the priest explained that when people believe in this business, they are actually opening themselves to be completely deceived by demon spirits.
Said the belief in life after death allows demons to impersonate spirits. And that's why the belief in life after death is a bad thing. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, because I guess it depends on like how you interpret the spirit. Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting one. Dominus Verbiscum says, believe it or not, the world teacher, aka Krishna, Imam, Mahdi, Maitreya, Buddha, Christ, etc., will be seen and heard by all as soon as we are ready. Has a physical body, huge cover-up, UFOs too. Search Benjamin Cream wiki quotes. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. I don't think Satan or Buddha or Christ, I don't know if these are like singular entities. This is just my opinion, by the way, right? People get upset if it doesn't agree with what they think. That's fine. That's up to you. I would say you're self-harming. I think that this is a consciousness thing. I think this is like I believe in Christ consciousness, and that's what I think this is about. And that's what I think we're going through. That's what I think the awakening is. I think the awakening is people, there is some kind of like elevation of consciousness that even to normies who are suddenly turning around and going like, wait, what the fuck? I didn't want any of this. Where did this happen? And then obviously we're there in the corner being like, yes, bro, it's been happening for a long fucking time. I tried to tell you. I think that that sort of wide scale awakening is a return of Christ consciousness. Okay, I know that sounds a little bit cheesy, but to me, this is what makes the most sense. And this is the awakening to the dark in the world, the evil. And I mean, look what's happening right now. The Epstein files are coming out. It metaphorically feels like the world we live in, or let's say the prison that we live in, this non-physical prison is burning down. Like it is up in fucking flames right now. And that is the chaos. That is the conflict that is like the, what the fuck is going on? I feel like that is the prison that we are in is fucking on fire right now. And people are going, holy fuck, it's all burning down. And we all wish it would hurry up and happen quicker and we could like get over it and get through it. But I think it's like a long process. I think it's a long process. And I think when we eventually come out the other side, it's going to be so good. But I feel like to get there, it's going to be, as Terence McKenna said, a fire in a madhouse. There you go.
Because it gives the demon spirits an opportunity to impersonate the dead. See? And for people to believe their lies. And the priest says that thrills first of all, it says it brings to the great master the respect and the reverence that is due to his great name. And it makes all the other spirits exceedingly happy because they are the ones that have worked to lead people to believe in life after death. See? And they rejoice also. And that's the extent of what
Christian idolatry is all about. Friendly.
And also, what I just said, sorry, excuse me. What I just said is exactly kind of like what Armin was saying at the end of my interview with him. He said that like, that is the Antichrist. That is like the Antichrist is knowledge. Knowledge is the antidote. Knowledge is the awakening, the realization of the prison that we live in. And only once people realize, understand, and agree upon that you can break out of it, right? Like Plato's cave is the perfect allegory. And it's almost like everyone in the cave is starting to realize that they're shadows. And we're collectively making our way out of the cave. But it is a treacherous journey. It is the mines of Moria, okay? It is the quest to Mordor to destroy the ring. We are all on that together right now. And it is a treacherous journey. But we're going to make it, people. We're going to make it. Stevie, nice to see you, brother. He says, only good thing about the current situation, I get to tell all the normies I was saying this 15 years ago. Alex Jones has been saying it for 30 years and then bombard them with rants about Bohemian Grove. Yeah, I feel you, bro. I hate to be the guy that says, I told you so. And I definitely wouldn't ever be that guy with people. Um, and because honestly, bro, like at this point, you don't even need to be. Because I know I've experienced it, and maybe that's just because I've got a bit of a platform now, but I'm sure some of you guys have experienced it where people you know who know that you were sort of like into this stuff, maybe you've been saying this stuff for a long time. Everyone's starting to notice. Everyone's noticing what's going on. And though you don't even need to say, I told you so, because you start getting DMs from those people and be like, hey, man, I was actually starting to think about, what you were saying about those people that run the world. And it actually kind of seems like it's true. And it's just like, my sweet summer child. Yes, take a seat. Take a seat. Do you want a Valium? Do you want a Valium? Because you're probably going to need it.
Spirits, just to digress for just a moment. You mentioned 3 different categories, and the friendly spirits are the ones that love to impersonate being a historian or something.
We specialize in that.
In your experiences in the praise services or in the worship room or the other places where you were, any of the places you were, did you ever witness an event where necromancy or even something that would be popularly called channeling today took place, where you actually heard the voice of someone in response to someone's questions?
Yeah, a number of times, but there was one time in particular that fascinated me because
assimilating channeling with necromancy and demons.
It was unique in one way. The priest told us that there was a French historian that was affiliated with Montreal, University of Montreal, which is a French university, and the English university is McGill. So the University of Montreal is the French university. And this man was from Paris, but he's affiliated with the university. And he wanted to have some details in regards to Napoleon Bonaparte and one of his generals. So, by the way, there are also, in other parts of the world, elite spirit worshippers like the group that we had in Montreal. And he mentioned there that, he said, you guys are fortunate when my friend and I went in, because you're right in time to see something very interesting. My friend there is having his devotions in the worship room of the gods, and he will use a trance medium to converse with certain demon spirits that will inform him in regards to ancient history about Napoleon. And sure enough.
Congratulations, Roy, you've just been promoted.
We went down there, and somebody came up and said he's ready for the session, and we went down there, and he said he would need 3 people. You would need 3 people, but he wanted 5 people that volunteer to be the channel for the spirit. Okay, so three of them were chosen there, and the others went back and sat down. And
oh shit!
The man shook his head like a little bit
Hold
like
up.
this.
I'll be back in 1 sec.
Glazed, and he stayed at it for a half hour. And the spirit spoke to him. He said, I'm a spirit counselor, and what would you like to know? And he had a clipboard, the historian, and asked him some questions.
This historian was from Paris.
Yeah.
And he was wanting information.
Some detailed information
about Napoleon
Bonaparte and one of his generals.
And so he asked the questions of one of these human beings that was channeling.
Oh yeah, the voice changed and everything. The voice changed of the person completely.
Okay.
And
it identified itself as a spirit guide.
Oh yeah, spirit counselor, yeah.
Okay, a spirit counselor. And then proceeded to tell him all the events that he was asking, answer his questions?
And there was a certain question that was asked, and the spirit counselor said, I will have Lord Remy and Lord Alphonse duplicate, in other words, the dialogue that had taken place.
Oh,
and
the two other drama.
Yeah, and the 2 other men fulfilled what he was looking for. But the one thing that interests me is the mayor of Montreal, Camillien Hood. During World War II, at the beginning of the war, he was very controversial when it regards to the war effort. You would tell the French-speaking boys not to go into the armed service, see, because you're going to go and shed your blood for the British, and we're their servants, so to speak, and all that, and he didn't want him to go into war, and they put him in prison. He was jailed for the length of the war for this. Now, the man said, I would like to have you tell me to the Spirit to give me part of the speech that was given by Chameleon Hood on the steps of the Montreal City Hall on a certain date. There are different versions of what has taken place, and you, Lord, would know the exact one.
Now, the mayor of Montreal was still alive.
Was still alive.
And this historian is asking what was actually said at a speech.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Spirit Counselor said, I'm sorry, I can't help you. All of my activities and my people have taken place in Europe. However, after my departure, our departure, other spirits will come and help you. And sure enough, the guy vibrated a little bit, and he's back, and he said, boy, how long? He said, 20 minutes, you've been used as a channel. So they, again, the Spirit entered into him, and the Spirit said he was a Spirit Counselor that could give him the information that he was looking for. So, again, it was given verbally, and it was the voice of Chameleon Hood.
Now, how did you know that it was the voice?
Well, because of the fact, you see, I was a youngster in those days, just about ready to go into the army. And Chameleon, we used to listen to the radio. We had no television in those days, so it was only radio, and read newspaper. And all the speeches of Chameleon made, and all of it was on the radio all the time. And in those days, they had no tape recorders, as we have now. So Chameleon would have to go to the Canadian Broadcasting Studio, where they made a record, a real phonograph record. And then they played it over and over, for the rest of the day.
So you listened to those as a teenager before you went into the army. So you knew his voice.
So I knew his voice really good. So I said to George, he was sitting next to me, he said, isn't it amazing? He said, if you think that's amazing, wait, he says, until the spirits impersonate one of the departed people that you know, personally, like an uncle or a brother or a sister or something like that. He says, that is unique. But that's the way it was. You are able to reproduce a voice, man, and the just to perfection. The spirits are exceedingly proud of this, because, and this also was right up my alley. The priest said that as the times on this planet gets more and more difficult, and calamities of all kinds are striking the planet more and more frequently, demon spirits are going to impress people with the importance of Sunday sacredness.
What do you guys think that means? Demon spirits are going to impress people with the importance of Sunday sacredness. I mean, I hope he goes on to explain this, but there's a lot. My brain's going in like lots of different directions here, and I'm not sure. School of SA says Christ consciousness is here. I agree. I absolutely agree. I think it's happening. And, I think this community, we are doing our part. I think we are doing our part with the good vibes that we're always pushing in these streams. I really do think that, we're making a little difference for sure.
Roger, when I was a teenager back in the 1970s, I remember a song that came out talking about the age of Aquarius. Mm-hmm. And since then, we've seen the development of the New Age. And I wondered if back when you were involved in spirit worship, if they talked about New Age at all.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, they didn't elaborate on the Sunday thing. That's a shame. Maybe they will a little bit later.
Yes, it was a big thing that was coming up. One of the major deceptions of the last days. Mm. And the priest told us, we talked quite a while, and then he said, could I have a little bit more of your time? I want to tell you something very fascinating. He says the grand plan, the master's grand plan for
A
harvesting
grand plan.
the nations, for harvesting the multitudes of the earth into his cause, just before the close of the great controversy between the forces of good and evil. So we continued, after we expressed ourselves that we're deeply interested to know more about the activities of the spirits. And he said it's going to be done in a unique manner. This grand plan is going to take people are going to eat the stuff. Because he says spirits, demon spirits, will declare themselves to be inhabitants of far distant planets in the galaxies that are coming to warn the inhabitants of planet Earth of the impending destruction of the planet unless something seriously proper is done to avoid it.
Hold up. Let me get a little rewind on that bit. I'm sorry. Demon spirits will declare themselves to be inhabitants of far distant planets. Okay, that's already, we can riff on that for a while. But what did he say here?
Unless something...
No, we need to go back further. My apologies.
People are going to eat the stuff. Because it says spirits, demon spirits, will declare themselves to be inhabitants of far distant planets in the galaxies that are coming to warn the inhabitants of planet Earth of the impending destruction of the planet unless something seriously proper is done.
Demon spirits will act like they are inhabitants of other planets and begin sending messages to people of the impending doom of their own planet, our planet, Earth, unless something big is done. That is so crazy, because is that not like the recurring theme in almost every encounter with a non-human intelligence? That we're not treating the Earth correctly, and that it's going to, and people get visions of like the apocalypse and things like that. But like, wherever this is coming from, is this just like a case of like the Collins elite stuff, right? Is this just a case of people with a highly religious worldview fitting everything into their box? And that's what we're listening to, right? We are listening to from the perspective of someone who, think anything dark is a demon, or anything apparently demons can be friendly too as well. Angels, demons, so everything must fit into these categories. And the reason why I think that is like, I think of like the Rua Zimbabwe case, where you've got these kids who all saw like what we would all call greys and like a little ship. Like, is that demons? Are they just taking the form of what we understand in the modern day as an alien? Because that's what we understand? Or is it completely mislabeled and it is actually just inhabitants of somewhere else, or even from Earth? I don't know, dude. This is what I mean. The deeper you get into this shit, the more questions you have. And that's why anyone who's like, nah, they're all demons. Nah, yeah, you don't know. Nah, channeling is demonic. This is that. Blah, blah, blah. It's kind of like, bro, how do you actually know any of that? What you're saying is what you think, and that's fine. Yeah, we all have to have some bias to how we feel. Obviously, it's a part of being alive. But when people say it like it's a fact, I think anyone with like an ounce of intelligence generally just dismisses anything you say. Like anyone who speaks matter of fact about this stuff, know that anyone who can think critically isn't listening to you. Carry on.
Avoid it. And he went on saying that they will claim to have out-of-body experiences. Are you familiar with out-of-body experiences?
I've read about them.
In other words, so a person's there's some persons are supposed to be able to, you know, they believe in their immortal soul.
Astral projection.
Yes, right. Goes into different parts of the world and sees things and come back, and then they write all about it, you know.
I've heard of that.
So, due to the fact that the millions of the earth, people, believe in people having an immortal soul, it has to be readily accepted when the spirits will, through a trance medium, converse with influential people of the land, you see.
Now, what is a trance medium?
It's a channeler today.
What is known today as a channeler?
Channeler, yeah.
Okay.
Shirley MacLaine's experience of getting involved with spiritism and with the supposed inhabitants of far distant planets in the galaxies, I taped the whole thing. It's 3 hours.
And you were hearing the fulfillment of what this high priest had said 45 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So he went on explaining about the fact that the spirits will show themselves willing to give valuable guidance that will not only help people avoid the destruction of the planet, but it would cause them to enter into a higher state of existence. For instance, he said the spirits will promise, and this is a big word, promise, that if their recommendations are followed carefully, they will usher in a glorious new age of peace and prosperity. And there'll be, there'll be no more wars, you see. There'll be no more famines. There'll be no more people getting unhappy to one another. Neighbors will love neighbor, and social unrest will not take place no more. There'll be perfect happiness for 1,000 years. That's what the Spirit is going to promise. And
almost like the Garden of Eden created all over again.
And now we find that a lot of preachers are preaching the great age of glorious new age of victory over wars, victory over social unrest, victory over famines, and victory over all kinds of.
And he used the words "new age" to describe what was coming.
It would be a glorious new age, yeah. And
I really like this interview, by the way. Like the fact that he's just allowing the guy to talk, and he's not asking his questions with like any sort of judgment. He's just sort of like trying to pry open this person's story and their thoughts. And I always really appreciate that in an interview.
And this is exactly what the movement is all about today. And he went on and said, as I said earlier, that as life on this planet becomes more and more difficult, and calamities will strike the planet more and more frequently, the spirits at that time are going to put all their effort to impress religious leaders, to bring before the masses of the earth the sacredness of Sunday. See? They will teach Sunday sacredness. And with the religious leaders, looking forward to 1,000 years of perfect peace on earth, they will put all their effort into it. Then laws will be passed by governments. One person asked, what's going to happen about people that don't believe in the Spirit's recommendation? The priest says, that's be no problem at all. Laws will be passed by governments that will force people to go along with it, regardless of whether they believe in it or not. And he says the law enforcement officers will explain to people, make it clear that such a law is necessary to assure the well-being of all people. He says the laws will be passed with no effort at all. And then he went on and he said about the fact that the venerability of the sun, which in ages past was such an irritant to the Creator. All these great nations and other nations, the smaller ones, were all involved in sun worship. And in those centuries, the Creator found that teaching of worship of the sun to be a terrible irritant. And he said, it is going again to take place.
Honoring Sunday gives homage to Satan as sun worship did in ages past. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, it would be like, could you, imagine if we all just went back to worshiping the sun. Like, it would be the one thing that we all agree on. We can all see, we can all share, no matter what country you're from, no matter what language you speak. We all see the sun, we all feel its warmth, we all experience it illuminating our days, we all see it giving life to our plants and our crops and our animals. Like, ultimately, a sun god would make sense, and it's something that we could all come together on. There's no discrepancy. The sun is there, it rises and sets every single day around the entire world. And if the sun is a giant ball of plasma, and if plasma can be intelligent or sentient or carry consciousness or affect our consciousness in some way, it all kind of makes sense. It all kind of makes sense that worshipping the sun as a god is the only sort of tangible worship that makes sense, really.
But not in worshiping the sun, in remembering Sunday to keep it holy. He made a statement I would never forget. He says, by the observance of the day upon which the master, Satan, has placed the unction of his authority and power, okay, he receives homage, regardless of whom people claim to worship.
Fendo says, or just don't worship anything. I think if you don't, I feel like the word worship sounds a bit extreme, like we're going to be on our knees, bloody, like, you know, wanking off over the sun. Like, that's not what I mean. I mean, like, if we can all collectively agree that, like, the sun is like the giver of life, and that we just appreciate it and respect it, as like, without it we would all cease to exist, because like we actually would. Funnily enough, we actually would cease to exist without the sun. So like, if we could all just collectively agree that like, this is important, it's beautiful, it gives us life, it gives us warmth, and that's it. I feel like that, and we don't need to like stop fucking around over like, no, this is the prophet, no, this is God, this is that. No, fuck all of that. Let's just appreciate what gives us life and warmth and allows things to flourish. I don't mean it in like, let's all wear robes and chant in a circle and sing hymns to summon the sun. You know what I'm saying?
That's something. So
appreciation and respect is not equal to worship. Worship implies surrender of our own manifestation power to a higher authority. Yeah, no, I don't agree with that. And that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to make a distinction between, what you said, worship and appreciation and respect. 100%, dude, I agree with you.
Can you understand now why I had 28 Bible studies in 1 week and started to go to church on Sabbath? And I never missed since until I became sick.
And sorry, just to add on that, the reason why I say that, because I forgot to mention this, is because I actually think we are hardwired to have something like that. Like, we all need that kind of like purpose, that thing that we all kind of like lean on or believe in. I think without something, we become like super nihilistic. And I mean, that's a blanket statement. I can't speak for every single person on the earth, but I do think there is like a bit of a trend where like people, and that's what being lost is, right? Like, people need to feel like they belong to something. Like, that's just the way that we're wired. And I think often people will use religion. Some people will use cults. Some people will use gangs. Some people will use video games, MMORPGs, right? People like want to feel part of like a tribe. We are tribalistic people. And I think the sun is the only like unifying like figure point that like the entire world could tribalistically be like, okay, that's the thing that we're all going to kind of unite around because of the reasons I mentioned before.
The issue of a day of worship came up in that meeting. Was Sunday the only day mentioned?
Well, you see, the priest mentioned, yes, about the fact Satan has chosen Sunday as his day.
Why not the moon? Because it's fake, bro.
The Creator has chosen the seventh day of the week. Lucifer has chosen to call his day the first day of the week, Sunday. See? And regardless of what people claim to worship, they're worshiping God, the Creator, by observing that day, that particular day, they are bringing homage and respect.
Now, at that time in your life, you were 20 years old or so. Had you ever heard of a Seventh-day Adventist?
Never in my life.
In that
They
meeting,
didn't talk about Seventh-day Adventist. They talked strictly about Adventist.
well, they just talked, but they did. The word Adventist
Yeah.
was mentioned.
The priest was telling us that necromancy, as I mentioned earlier, is the belief that the dead have entered into a higher state of existence, etc. And he says, for centuries, friendly demon spirits have worked diligently to establish and uphold in the religious convictions of all people the belief that man has an immortal soul. See? Then he boasted about the fact that the master was so smart and that he had deceived the whole world, even in this age of great scientific knowledge and understanding. Then one person put his hand up. Okay. Priest says, yeah, yes, we want to say something? He says, what about the Adventists? You can't count them deceived regarding the state of the dead. And I got a question. What about, how come that they can't be...
The Seventh-day Adventists cannot be brought under the Great Deception. Right. So it's the Seventh-day Adventists that are right. They're the only ones. I get it. And Billy Meyer is the only one that can talk to the Pleiades. I see.
brought under the Great Deception? The priest said, you're right. I apologize, says here, I made a mistake. When I said that all the millions of people living on the face of this planet, everybody, was honoring the great master. I forgot the Adventists. There's so few in number when you figure the billions of people that I didn't even think of mentioning it. So I'm sorry. Then he says, secondly, the reason why they can't be brought under the Great Deception, let me explain about it. Now he said, my next statement is going to upset some of you. But what I'm telling you is the honest truth. It is factual. It's reality. The fact that the Adventists observe the biblical Sabbath of creation and reverence the Creator on that day, it makes it impossible for the spirits to deceive them. They are giving very special help and great spiritual insight. And he said, under these conditions, they are not ordinary people. And that stayed with me, man. Just like this. And when I heard the word Adventist, when Sarah told me later on, which we're going to cover later, I asked him, I said, what denomination do you belong to? He said, I'm a Seventh-day Adventist. What is that again? He said, I'm a Seventh-day Adventist. I said, is that the same thing as Adventist? Oh yeah, he says, a lot of people call us the Adventists. They don't talk about the 70s, same thing. Boy, I was interested.
I bet you were. Now,
I wanted to know what his Bible said.
Yeah, I bet you did.
Things,
because that was the one group that under question only, the high priest of the demonic worship house.
Yeah.
The thing that he had said to you was, this is the one group that can't be deceived.
That's right.
And so somewhere back inside that that resistance you had came out, and you awoke.
A few months later, that
felt like a unnatural cut there. I don't know if anyone else noticed that, but I feel like this isn't at least the immediate response he had to that question. I don't know, maybe that was just me.
Unique experience, was instrumental in helping me make a decision for Christ. And also, I had no hesitation to join myself to God's commandment-keeping people because of the fact that I knew what kind of people they were. And after having had 28 Bible studies in 1 week, I started to keep the Sabbath, forever. But you see, the time that I had these Bible studies, 4 hours per evening, we started at 7 o'clock and finished at 11 o'clock at night. We had this Bible study similar to what you showed me the other day, that you have in your pocket. The Bible studies were about an hour. There were questions, and then you looked at the verses that they give you in the Bible, and you had your answer. It was so fantastic. And the Spirit of God was really ministering to me the graces of redemption. Every moment of all those Bible studies was precious. Precious, precious, precious.
Roger, at that time, your major language was French. You did not speak English, and all of this happened in the French language in Montreal. How long after you became a Seventh-day Adventist, or after you learned of Seventh-day Adventists, did you read the book Great Controversy by Ellen White?
Well, I joined the church. I first had the Bible studies in October of 46. In April of 47, I was baptized into the church. In September of that year, Hilda and I got married. And the French church in Montreal gave us, as a wedding gift, the Conflict of the Ages series. And I had not read the Greek Controversy up to then.
But then you read it.
Yeah.
And what went through your mind when you read the book Great Controversy, thinking back on the experience you'd had maybe just a year or so before?
That's right.
What went through your mind?
This person is inspired. This person has got knowledge that nobody else has on the face of the earth, except, the spiritist that I was mentioning, because it's so unique. See?
Well, I find it very remarkable that they were willing to share the strategy that Satan is working on with this group. Of course, their plan was that it would never get out.
That's right.
Under seal of death.
That's right. Their plan is that you don't have to worry about saying anything about the Great Master. Because as soon as anybody strays some, the spirits will tell the high priest right away what's taking place. They did with my Bible study by Wednesday night. I studied on Monday and Tuesday. By Wednesday night, the spirit counselor appeared to the high priest and says, you have one of your defectors. He says, that Morneau guy, you're going to get rid of him. Because he's out there studying the Bible with the Adventists, the people that the Master hates most on the face of the earth.
To be continued. There is actually more. We're not going to be watching it today, though. But I think, look, I found this really interesting. I think there's obviously we need to keep in mind that this story is being told through the lens of a very seemingly devout Seventh-day Adventist, right? So all of these things that are happening are being told with the label that a Seventh-day Adventist would apply to it, right? So I think it's important to remember that, if you're not a Seventh-day Adventist, or if you're not religious at all, try to remember that a lot of the things that he's talking about may compart with your own belief system a little bit easier if you just replace the label, right? Again, they said things not of this earth demons are going to pretend like they're not from earth, and they're going to tell people that it seems like the world is going to end soon. If you're someone who's not religious but believes in aliens, you're going to hear that and it's going to flip into a total different thing. So I think there was a lot of interesting stuff in that, particularly the elite rings of society performing seances, contacting spirits, working with spirits. The idea that there is going to be in the late 40s and 50s, they're being told that there is going to be an incoming age of revolution 2 years before Israel was created, by the way. And then after that will follow an even greater age, which it feels like is where we're kind of moving into now. However, it seems like we are in this massive state of, I guess, a battle between good and evil is the simplest way to put it. By the way, Audio Maker, that is a beautiful orange badge that you have next to your name, sir. Thank you very much for 12 months of support on the channel. I really do appreciate that. Let's get some love in the chat for my man. And KK Loco says, why do we need to worship anything? I love the show. Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think we sort of explained that before as well. I agree. I don't think we should really worship I don't think we should worship anything other than the sun. No, but I do really think that's interesting. I think there's something in that like the sun is the only unifying thing, right? That everyone can collectively agree upon, benefit from, and have a genuine reason to appreciate. I should say that is external to us. That is external to us. School of SA says, help me here, please. Is he saying he believes what the secret society's high priest told him without any level of scrutiny on his part? Yes, that is my understanding, that he is very much all in on what he's been told because he also experienced it. Bleak, thank you very much, my man, for the $1. Attempted Human says, yes, Josh, one world religion, what could go wrong? I mean, I'm sure things could go wrong, but I feel like your comment is kind of, you're making it sound like a one world government, a one world, a new world order, right? I don't think they're the same thing. Because I think a one world government is like, we're being governed by something. We're being governed and ruled by something external to us. I think a one world religion could be a collective agreement that there is something beyond us that is great, powerful, life-giving, warm, and we would potentially cease to exist without it. Okay, I'm going back to the sun. I'm using the sun again. We would literally cease to exist without it. So if there was like a collective agreement of like the only thing that is bigger than each other and us is no government, no agency, no intelligence services, but the sun. This like giant ball of plasma and warmth that gives life to our planet. If that was the only thing we collectively around the world agreed was like beyond any other person, and other than that, we are all just equal human beings and we should treat each other as such, I do think that I think that would be a good thing. I do think that would be a good thing. I don't know what could go wrong with that, really, unless it will go wrong when out of the shadows the moon worshippers come. The moon worshippers come out, and then we start going to war with these werewolf howling at the moon freaks. I don't know. Attempted Human says, I'm just being silly. Love you, bro. I know, man. I'm just having fun with you as well. I appreciate the super chats as well, dude. School of SA says, a Scooby snack for the sus dog. Thank you very much. He appreciates it. He did have to do a bit of work today, so he'll be eating good. Marin says, Josh, you are opening up minds and creating conversations. The deeper you explore, the darker it will be. In the final analysis, knowledge is light. Stay the course, stay strong, and stay safe. Love to all of you. Thank you very much, Marin. That's a super nice super chat. And yes, I do agree in the fact that the deeper you go, the darker it gets. But I think, you know what else is dark? A cave, Plato's cave. And you have to go through it to break out and get to the light. You know what I'm saying? Damn, that was a quick little cook up I just did there. That's a quick little cook I had right there. But I do agree with that. I do think you have to go through the uncomfortable feelings and you have to come to those realizations and think about and realize what the fuck is going on, and it isn't pretty. But if you don't, you just remain ignorant and everything continues. We are in the process of like ripping off like a long band-aid. A long band-aid. And one of the quotes from Colonel that's always stuck with me about disclosure, because Colonel, he's obviously, comes from the UFO space, but he was a far more sort of like esoteric, bigger picture guy. And the one thing that he said that really stuck with me is the problem is unlearning. It's not about just telling you the truth about reality, because that doesn't fit with what you think reality is right now. I could tell you, but you're going to be like, wait, what? How? That doesn't make sense. I've been told it's been like this my whole life. You have to unlearn first. And I think that is a painful process that the world is going through right now. SS Tone says, as above, so below, as without, so without. As the self, so the universe. I am what I am, the Lord thy God. Thou shalt take no others before me. Beautiful. Love it. Thank you very much, SS Tone. And I think we are well over time for today, so that wraps up the show. But guys, thank you very much for hanging out today. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to do, no, actually, I'm not going to say it just because I do that all the time. I say things I want to do and then I don't do them and I feel like an idiot. But there will be a stream tomorrow. I will say that. There will be a stream tomorrow. I really want to get back to the Dan Burish interviews because there are so many good ones that, and I've been wanting to get back there for so long. And other things keep coming up. But I really want to get back to them because I really think there's something in them. So we might be doing Dan Burish tomorrow. I'll find out later on today. But until then, hopefully I'll see you there. But until then, keep being good to each other, guys. Be kind. Spread some love. Get outside, touch some grass, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.
Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light in our galaxy. Everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.